Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. Guys, we're in for another great tap of an episode here tonight. Plenty of different topics to go over tonight. And honestly, my monologue to start off with is a little bit of a tribute to someone that got reminded of recently in the sporting industry. So I want to go over that real quick. Right now, we're streaming only on YouTube tonight. Allowed more people to subscribe recently. If they're not subscribed, they're not going to be able to see it on YouTube right now. So if you know them, if they're looking to find the show, tell them, subscribe down below, like the video, share this on Twitter, share this on Facebook, and they'll be able to hop over and watch this live. Really good stuff today, though. Hykeem Williams, the transfer, 5-star transfer from Florida State, is on campus today and tomorrow. He'll probably be out early tomorrow morning whenever he takes a flight. But getting to meet with the staff today. Pitt also puts out other offers. They're looking at other people in the transfer portal, talking about that. Obviously, we've seen a number of guys from the offensive line hit the portal. Those guys were not on the too deep. We wish them the best of luck. We'll go into a bunch of that stuff here tonight. And also, too, open Q&A as always. And obviously, as myself, someone who celebrates it, happy Easter to each and every one of you. Hope you truly got to enjoy your holiday with great people. And got to spend some time with the people you care most about. That's what life's about, and more importantly, that's what really wants you guys to be able to go through, is to be able to surround the people that you love. So, guys, before we get into it here tonight, the show is sponsored by Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA 15102. Really cool stuff as always, guys. The Heller Pick Can, Icy Light, great collaboration they got going on there. Very cool overall. Make sure you go get them. And also, too, it's something different. I was there recently, and obviously those guys are truly the best over there. They have some different stuff here. I've never tried this before. Don't know what this is, but Seagram's Escapes. They had different stuff there, getting me to try other stuff besides my regular beer and whatnot. Obviously, the Icy Light cans and whatnot. So something different. We'll try this here tonight. But tremendous people and great Pitt people. Anytime you can help out a small business, I suggest that you do, because it means a lot. And each and every one of you and your support. And thank you guys for always going there. They tell me all the time when they see you guys. So I truly appreciate it. Again, Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA 15102. The show is also sponsored by Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. A lot of you guys got to meet Brian, who was with me at the spring game. You got to meet him there. Obviously, you can tell, very easily likable person, talks to anybody, a tremendous individual, does a lot of work in the community for volunteer work, but also has a great family and comes from a great family. And he is someone who looks at you individually, not as a number, but as a person. When anybody goes to him for looking for results in the courtroom or in law, he is the guy that will answer your questions and guide you through the process. If he doesn't have the answers for you, he will guide you through the process to make sure you get the answers that you need and to be successful in the case that you're looking for. Guys, again, Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. Lastly, the K Collection coffee brand by Austin Kitchen at www.thekingscraft.com. It's the black bag, the backwards K, which is very, very cool. Backwards K, the K Collection. Personally, me, I've gotten even more into now the Guatemala batch, the 8K Espresso, which Austin uses personally through multiple testing, his Guatemala batch, every one of them, the 3 different options. He uses them, preferably the espresso, before he heads to the ballpark to make sure he's ready to go for the game. He plays for the Seattle Mariners. If it's able enough to support him, a major leaguer who needs to be at the top of their game in the top 1%, it can certainly evaluate and help me and help you. Make sure you go get the K Collection coffee brand by Austin Kitchen at www.thekingscraft.com. Guys, obviously, we'll be getting into it tonight. Comments here, smash the like button and subscribe and join Alliance 412. Yes, if you haven't done so, like the show, subscribe to the show, because obviously you only know we are only on YouTube tonight. If you're a subscriber, you're getting this, obviously. If you haven't, share this on Twitter right now, or on X, whatever you want to call it, to get more people involved. Share it on Facebook, Pitt Panther Fanatics, all of the Facebook groups. We can get it going. Hykeem. Brock will be going over that tonight. Tim Bales, West Virginia fan, happy Easter. JJ, Tim, happy Easter to you. Any updates on Kenny Johnson's situation? Heard it for like 1 to 2 days and dead silence since. Wolf, we'll go over that stuff tonight, stuff that I've heard since then. We'll go over how many players are looking to add in the spring portal window. We'll go into that. Speedy Tortoise, happy Easter. Happy Easter to you as well. Guys, tonight, before we get into the topics, I had a little bit of a monologue I wanted to go over here, and it was kind of funny. I was coming home from work, and it really reminded me of something. I wanted to give a shout out because he watches the show, which is a honest blessing and a true privilege, because he is a legend in the sports world, but more importantly in the sports world in Pittsburgh, and someone that I consider to be family and a friend, to say the least. Coming home from work, and I'm on West Liberty Avenue heading towards the South Hills here into Mount Lebanon, and I run alongside, didn't even notice it, an old friend of mine who I consider, again, family, Oliver Oxenreiter. And if you're wondering, you're probably thinking Oxenreiter sounds familiar, and you're right. If you remember, for me, someone like me growing up, Albie Oxenreiter, Ox on Fox, was truly the best of the best. It was the only place I ever got my sports information, and it was so cool to see him the other day, and it got me thinking about Oliver, his whole entire family, Albie Jr., and the entire family from top to bottom. And it was so cool to see him, and we got to send a little bit of a video to his dad, obviously, and obviously he's retired now. And, he was talking about, it was pretty cool, saying, hey, now we're watching you, talking college football with JJ Kitchen. And let me tell you something, Mr. Oxenreiter, I'm not even 1/10 of what you were. And I got to tell you, it was so cool. It was so great seeing Oliver, and it was crazy just coming up West Liberty Avenue. It was so cool seeing him, but more importantly, man, do I miss you. And, it's cool for you to watch something like this where I'm not even 1/10 of what you were on, on WPXI and Ox on Fox, and having millions of views that you had on there. You were truly the best. And I can tell you guys, he's a tremendous father from top to bottom, coached us in baseball, got to play baseball with Oliver in Mount Lebanon. And just, it was so cool to relive a couple of those memories. And we were exchanging texts back and forth from the St. Bernard days. If you guys don't know, St. Bernard's on Washington Road. Went to middle school there, went to grade school, preschool, middle school. And it was just truly cool to go down memory lane there a little bit. And just wanted to throw a shout out to Albie Oxenreiter tonight. A truly great man. I truly miss you. We'll get together soon. It was cool to catch up with Oliver a little bit there real quick on the road. And I just wanted to tell you I love you, and I appreciate everything you did in the sports world. But for me personally, anytime I was looking at a career in sports or a career in banking, you are truly the best, and I cannot thank you enough, and truly love you. I can't wait to see you soon. First one of the night, Pitman Zach. Thank you, sir. Saw the cornerback from North Carolina is visiting Thursday. How about the tight end from Indiana and 2 D tackles, Nelson Henderson? Also, Hykeem Williams. Keep up the great work, JJ. Love the show. Thank you so much, and we're going to get into it here, Pitman Zach. And again, thank you for the super chat, guys. Super chat comes in, we put it up on the screen, and we go over it right away. So appreciate the support here as always. First things first, Hykeem Williams. I'll go over that one first. Obviously, the cornerback from North Carolina, Zion Ferguson, former 4-star cornerback in the 2024 class. He'll be visiting on Thursday. High target for Pitt. And for what I have right now, Pitt is the leader on the board for Zion Ferguson. And I can assure you they're going to try to close that out on Thursday. They'd like to add to that cornerback room with the corners being a little thin right now. We talked about that in the previous show, that they're looking at, a corner, and we'll go over everything once again, but, corner, tight end, I would say tight end number 1, corner number 2, running back, wide receiver, offensive line. They like to add a little bit more depth there with some guys leaving, add a little bit more depth there. That would certainly work out. But for the number 1, and probably people are thinking about the most here, Hykeem Williams, the wide receiver transfer, former 5-star, was certainly in depth when we looked at Hykeem Williams 2 years ago with Taekwon Underwood, the former wide receiver coach, now back in the National Football League, went to the New England Patriots. Now I believe he's down with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, if I'm not mistaken, or the New Orleans Saints, one or the other. Zion Fowler, good football player there too. Hykeem Williams is on campus today. He's going through his visit. Do a little bit tomorrow as well. I know he's looking at Colorado. He's also looking at Syracuse. He was at Colorado on Saturday and Sunday for the spring game. Snowing pretty good there on a Saturday. Sunday wasn't too bad. Still a little bit colder on a Sunday. Heard that visit went well. I think as we stand here today, because of the quarterback situation that Pitt is in, being solidified who they have. I think Pitt right now is the front runner from anybody that I've talked to that is close to the situation. They're looking to close a deal on him. I know people will probably consider, the Cade Bell offense a lot of times the smaller wide receivers. When you got a guy like Hykeem Williams, 6'2", runs a 4.5 40, a guy who can really go up and get the football. I think he's done a good job of that on numerous occasions. If Florida State, last couple of years especially, that the quarterback play has not been good. Jordan Travis, who was there his freshman year, didn't get on the football field because there's so much depth at the wide receiver position for Florida State. Last year did not go well with DJU. They've got Tommy Castellanos coming in this year, so probably 2 straight years of bad quarterback play. Really put Hykeem Williams into the transfer portal, and I think Pitt's really leading the way right now. And then they're going up against 2 good guys in terms of recruiting, Deion Sanders and Fran Brown, who I'm just gaining more and more respect of for Fran Brown. He's a guy who's going to be a hell of a football coach and a hell of a leader for the Syracuse Orange. But right now, I think that when you look at the situation of where they are, I think Pitt's the leader right now. I think that he'll go through this visit here in the next couple of days. He'll go to Syracuse tomorrow and probably Thursday, and then we'll probably have a finisher there. But I think that right now, as we sit here today, Pitt's in a good spot, and the dollar amount that Hykeem's looking for is not what he was looking for when he came out as a freshman. Not looking for anywhere near that upper echelon of the 6 figures or the 7 figures. Something that's very manageable, but still in 6 figures. He's still going to get paid. Pitt's doing a good job of being very competitive. I bet you it's in the range of $200,000 to $300,000, somewhere in that range probably. Just a hell of an athlete. There's competition for this guy right now. Really good overall. He's going to ask for a good dollar amount there, but nothing like what he was early on. I can tell you that. So it's really good. I think right now Pitt's in a good spot right now to try to land him out of the transfer portal going to a visit here today. When it comes to the cornerback from North Carolina, that's Zion Ferguson. He will be here again, like we talked about on Thursday. He's going to be a guy that I think Pitt offered him. They got a visit here. They're looking to close a deal on him. When you look at the cornerback room, we've talked about it on this show. Right now, Pitt's a little bit farther away in terms of when you look at depth overall. I would kind of count it as a weakness at this point because you got Rashawn Murray, who's really produced this spring. You're happy he's actually turned up to be a very good athlete and good football player. He looks to be a guy that will be in the starting rotation. You still got Shadarian Harrison, most improved player on the defensive side of the football from this past spring. Again, Cameron Lindsay, the 4-star linebacker, was really 1B in that scenario. I thought he could have gotten it too. But Shadarian Harrison, Rashawn Murray, Rashad Battle still coming back from an injury, Taman Linehams. You really got those 4 guys right there. But Shadarian Harrison has not had a lot of experience in football games, obviously in college football. Rashad Battle goes through injuries every once in a while, unfortunately. So you really want to have more depth there. You really got 2 guys overall. You got 2 starters there right now. And Rashawn Murray, while he's done good in spring, has not played in the Power 4 level yet. So it can kind of make you a little bit nervous. This is a kid, Zion Ferguson, who could come in and I think compete right away. I think he could be potentially a guy that can come in, have an opportunity to play right away, really get into that rotation. He certainly learns quickly from what I've heard. Very good athlete, great size on him, great length. And I think he can be really an opportunity to come in here and play because there's some holes that Pitt has on their current roster. I don't think there's currently glaring ones all the way across the board. Personally, obviously, I would like another tight end. They got 3 tight ends on the roster right now. I don't think that's good enough. And it's a big concern for me personally. Jake Overman being the starter. You'd like to have someone come in and compete. Malachi Thomas is there, a redshirt freshman, Max Hunt, a true freshman that's there, but you'd like to bring in another guy that's there. And that right now is Indiana tight end Sam West. He's also visited Mississippi State. Not a lot of numbers on Sam West. He did produce in a game against Charlotte, a non-con game, but for a guy who's got a little bit more experience, you like to bring him in. So really you would have 4 guys on the roster at tight end. The one thing that's really good for Pitt at this point, I think they're really a lot deeper at the wide receiver position this year, especially if they land Hykeem Williams. I think that they're going to be a lot more depth at the wide receiver position, so they'll really utilize the wide receivers. Jake Overman will really be that guy that you look for in the passing game on the outside, creating mismatches towards the sidelines where you saw a lot like Gavin Bartholomew last year. Also line them up in a trip set, being able to create different mismatches down the football field, especially over the middle, down the seams, creating those opportunities where you can create the mismatches on linebackers and potentially on your smaller corners. So that'll be some guys to watch. Also, too, Ohio defensive tackle Braylon Henderson, former Central Catholic Viking here, and Whitfield recruit. I think right now he may not be a take if I had to look at it. That he's played defensive tackle at Ohio. I think Pitt personally right now is really good at the defensive tackle position. I like their depth that's there. Sean Fitzsimmons and Nick James really anchoring that crew. Francis Breu, Jasir Whittington, and Isaiah O'Neal really rounding that group out at number really 3, 4, and 5. And Ty Uhas certainly working his way into that lineup. I think he's done a good job during the spring. I've heard a lot of good stuff about him. Ty Uhas, the redshirt freshman defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh Central Catholic, Whitfield hometown hero kid. He's done a hell of a job, continues to get better. You look at what's his name? Coach Doust has talked about how he's gotten better. And I think, for me personally, seeing him in person at the spring game, the guy's built like a brick shithouse. I think he can be a really good attribute towards the middle of that football field. Speedy Tortoise, did I see correctly? Sam West, 1 catch for 37 yards last year. Yes, that's correct. He had 1 catch for 37 yards. So, I mean, he's got, he's been in college for at least 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. But when it comes to playing time, it's certainly not there. But I think when it comes to overall the money portion right now, I think the Pitt's looking at some bigger fish in the water when it comes to transfer portal guys. Obviously, North Carolina DB, he's going to ask for a little bit of money there. I think at the tight end position, they just want some bodies that are there, some guys that can come in and play. Almost like a Jake Overman last year. We had a lot of questions about Jake Overman. We'll continue to watch and see what he looks like. But overall, I think besides Jake Overman, I kind of have the tight end position as a weakness because Jake Overman certainly has a good deal of wealth. Thank God he's back because we would certainly be up shit creek at the tight end position because of lack of experience. But if you can bring in another body there, a 4th guy to really compete, figure out who really steps up behind Jake Overman, that's great. But at the end of the day, you got to keep Jake Overman healthy or that tight end position becomes a severe weakness overall during the year. I think that the tight end from Indiana, again, I've watched his tape. I think he's got potential. Do I think he's a home run guy or a home run hitter? By no stretch of the imagination, I do not. I think he brings in good depth. I think he's going to be a good blocker, and I think he can be another potential guy like a Jake Overman we can really surprise in the passing game. So we'll see. But more importantly, he's got to learn the offense. He's got to come in during the summertime. We'll have summer OTAs. He's got to learn that system yet. He's got to go through the whole playbook yet. So that's going to be a little of a process. So at this point, at the tight end position, we're really relying on one guy, Jake Overman, to really step up for us this year. And I think he's really getting ready for that opportunity. Again, he's got great size. He can certainly run. He'll have his opportunity this year with Gavin Bartholomew headed to the National Football League, looking to be a draft pick. Gavin, he'll do a good job in the NFL, and the team some lucky team will be good to get him. But overall, I think that when you look at the tight end room, it's a weakness for me because of the lack of depth. And I think it's kind of a question mark past Jake Overman. Malachi Thomas, he was a freshman All-American last year, preseason wise, but we got to see it on the football field first. That's where I kind of have a little bit of a concern there. Speedy Tortoise overall, I think we got a question mark there. That's for sure. The other one, Nelson, he could potentially come in. I think right now, for me personally, I think they're going to try to see if one of those guys can move to defensive end. Personally, I would stay away from the defensive tackle room. I think we got enough guys there. I would be personally looking at defensive end. I know they're looking for some guys that are there. I think overall they're looking at the tape to see if those guys are able to play the defensive end position and can produce at that level because these guys can pass rush. I think Henderson's a little bit less of a pass rusher, more of a guy to take up space, can really be a real benefit in the run game. But I think Nelson can be more that guy that comes in and be a potential guy who can rush the passers. That's why they kind of look at him as a defensive tackle, defensive end position. But we'll see. Me personally, I'm sticking more towards the defensive end. That's where I have more questions at. I think that when you look at a guy, you look at the defensive end room, you got Blaine Spires, who really didn't practice that much this spring. The times that he did practice, I thought he looked good. But still has not played at the power forward level. So you still got questions there. Jimmy Scott's back as a returning starter. Nate Temple's back. Jaden Moore certainly impressed. The transfer, the former 4-star defensive end from Oregon. He certainly impressed this spring. These guys have basically said that he's almost kind of penciled himself in as a starter. You'll go into spring, into fall camp and have a real good competition there. But he's certainly a guy that's really impressed. Then you got Joey Zielinski, Eastern Michigan University. I kind of call it the Zach Crosby effect. Those guys, they go there to Eastern Michigan. Crosby was a guy went out of Eastern Michigan. Gets drafted by the Oakland Raiders, certainly making all of his money up there right now. I think Crosby overall is kind of the effect there, but Zielinski has looked good, they said. But the biggest thing, we won't know what these guys look like till we hit the fall and really get into the portion of, hey, now we're facing other teams. And like I've said before, we're not going to know what this football team is until week 3. I'm not going to judge this team unless it's bad, obviously. Pitt should handle business against Duquesne week 1. They should handle business in week 2 against Central Michigan. Week 3, when they go on the road against West Virginia and Morgantown, is when I'm going to start to really judge. I think that's just a rivalry game in Morgantown on the road. You find out who those players are, who's going to really step up for the Pitt Panthers this year. JJ, you have any thoughts of the college football playoff meetings in Texas this week? All I can see is the dark times ahead for the ACC and Big 12. Just not much leverage. Stop wrecking while it's destroying us. Tim, good question. We'll get to that here in a second. Keep up the great work, JJ. Thank you. Of course, Zach, hopefully answered all your questions there. Again, thank you for the super chat. As always, guys, if you make a small donation to the podcast, we go ahead and put it up on the screen right away to make sure we talk about it, because that's the most important question of the day. So, Pitman Zach, thank you so much for super chat. My man, Coach Roy Ball, my man, hope you had a great Easter. Yes, sir. It was a good one. Being able to relax on the weekend where all I do is work the majority of the weekdays, and then obviously hopping on the podcast and other business ventures that I have. So it was really good to just sit back and have a little bit of relaxing time this weekend. So I appreciate it. Hope you had a great one too, Coach. Love you. Let's see here. Wolf HD, I know you had a comment here. Any updates on Kenny Johnson's situation? Yeah, I mean, he asked for more money. I think right now the pressure seems to be subsided. There seems to be some type of pretty much some confidence on the Pitt side that he's going to return. I know there's a debacle between his family saying that he didn't ask for more money. When I have 10 plus people that reach out to me, there are sources that have direct knowledge of the situation that says he asked for more money. I'm going to take their word for it, especially when it's 10 plus people, teammates. I know enough people to know, and he asked for more money. But at the end of the day, it looks like that has subsided. I would expect him to be back. I think that kind of went by the wayside. There was a lot of conversation there for a couple of days, but I expect him to be back. And then I think that, if Pitt takes care of business and really seals the deal with Hykeem Williams, you've got yourself Kenny Johnson, Hykeem Williams. Then you've got Deuce Spann. You've got Raphael Poppy Williams, CJ Lee, Zion Fowler L. You've got a number of guys in there. You say, hey, you know what? There's some good opportunity there. And obviously Pitt lost Andy Jean. Kind of just tells me a guy that didn't want to compete, looked at himself in the mirror and saw him drop down the depth chart and didn't want to compete. By all means, have at it. Hit the portal. Go group of 5. Enjoy yourself, buddy. So, again, appreciate the comment here. Speedy Tortoise, yeah. Again, 1 catch for 37 yards. Not much experience. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of a body at this point. He's got to prove himself when he comes in here. So we'll watch and see that. The thoughts on the ACC and the Big 12 at Texas this week. I mean, there's not much leverage overall. Regardless, Pitt's in a world where Adam here, would they take Williams even if Johnson stays? Who would the starters at wide receiver be? Adam, yes, they're taking Hykeem Williams is 100% a take, and I think they want him to line up with Kenny Johnson. That's why they wanted him to stay. So he's 100% going to be here if they're both here. I can tell you that right now. And that'd be a hell of a 1-2 punch. I'd say, Hykeem Williams got to come in here and earn his spot too. I mean, nothing's ever given. No one's ever promised a starting spot. I'm just basing it off of his athleticism and watching his tape. He's a hell of a wide receiver. But right now, it's Kenny Johnson, Deuce Spann, Raphael Poppy Williams, and CJ Lee, I think, at the top of the margins when you look at those. And even Deuce Spann probably runs his name in there. He's done a good job as a bigger wide receiver. So, and also Blue Hicks, Kateris Blue Hicks out of Louisville. So those are guys, they got plenty of depth at wide receiver, but if you can get a guy like Hykeem Williams, you go get a guy like Hykeem Williams. He's a former 5-star player. He had potential offers from everywhere. He's looking at Syracuse and Colorado and Pitt because of the relationships he's had there. But he's had offers since he's entered the portal. He's had over 35 plus offers. I've talked to numerous people who are connected to that situation, especially when it comes to his family. He's had offers from everywhere, but he's looking at Colorado, Syracuse, and Pitt based on relationships. He knows Fran Brown personally from Georgia. That's why he's looking at that situation up there. I just think the biggest thing for Pitt right now going for them is they're willing to pay up for him. Nothing like what he was asking for when he came out of high school, but still willing to pay up for him. But the quarterback situation is a lot better at Pitt than it is at Colorado, where they're looking for a new quarterback. Syracuse is looking for a new quarterback. Pitt's in good hands right now, and negotiations are going on forward. And, of course, with him being on campus today, that's also a good thing. The college football playoff meetings, I mean, regardless, at the end of the day, it's going to be, if I had to guess, Tim, it's going to be two spots probably for the ACC and the Big 12, and what the ACC had, two or three teams and two teams in this past year, Clemson and SMU. I think Louisville could have potentially gotten in there. I personally think Miami should have been in. I think Miami would have been a better game than SMU, but you can't falter a team that lost in the championship game, the AC championship. I think just Cam Ward overall, that would have been a better matchup for Penn State. Even that, I mean, you saw the first two quarters. I mean, it was a close ball game for the first two quarters, but just Kevin Jennings just could not get it together, making total mistakes back and forth, interceptions. I think the cool weather certainly got to him. I think Miami would have played a better ball game just because they had more talent, in my opinion. Would have been a tougher football team. But from what it looks like, the ACC is going to have two bids. The Big 12 will have two bids, and it looks like potentially 4 and 4 for the Big 10 and the SEC. I think that's utter bullshit. I mean, for me personally, you pick the best, whether it's 12 teams or 14 teams. It looks like it's going to go to 14 teams. I think at that point, you might as well just go to 16. Because when you want more at large bids. But, I think the automatic bids are just stupid. I mean, you're pretty much disqualifying the non-conference schedule. I mean, at this point, if you're not going to allow the non-conference schedule to have any type of say towards it, just the conference schedule, you might as well just have cupcake games and win those games and get ready. Or there'll be some teams like Pitt who had just notoriously out of conference have always had harder games. They've had UCF when they've been ranked. They've had Cincinnati. They've had West Virginia. They've had Tennessee. They've gone to the SEC and had those games where they're able to produce at a high level. Good viewership games. Johnny Majors Classic. I mean, those were huge games. They've got Notre Dame always on the schedule. That's a tough football game right there. They've got Wisconsin down the road. They're having those games on there. They've got West Virginia in the future. And Tim, it's going to be funny. I'm actually going to do a recorded show on why West Virginia should be facing Marshall as a consistent game every year. They're a group of 5 school. It's a game that West Virginia should win the majority of the time. And I think it's a good game for the state of West Virginia. It keeps the money in state, but it's a group of 5 and it's easy travel because West Virginia fans, whether they want to admit it or not, they need games that are around them on the out of conference schedule because the traveling is just so horrid right now for West Virginia, and it's hurting them money-wise and expense-wise, and they're not producing a lot of revenue at West Virginia. I think that the Marshall game would only produce more revenue for West Virginia. I think it's a no-brainer, and I think that West Virginia fans need to swallow their pride and realize it's a game that needs to happen, in my opinion. When it comes to the ACC and Big 12, I mean, they're in the same spot, man. I think 2030, I've said before, for ESPN to lower the buyout to get out of the ACC in the coming years, 2030, that just tells me that there's going to be a breakaway from the NCAA. There's going to be a super league, probably of the top, 55 to 65 teams. If I had to bet, your 55 to 65 teams will join in, and it'll be an ultimate super conference. Hopefully, at that point, when that happens, how I've been saying it the entire time, have football break away for the NCAA, have a collective bargaining agreement, then you allow college basketball and all the other sports to stick with the NCAA, bring back the Pac-12, bring back regional rivalries, bring back regional conferences where people don't have to travel as much because you're watching in live time. UCLA can't travel. They're having major issues there. USC can't travel. They're having major issues there. Stanford can't travel. Oregon, they're having all these issues with spending so much money in terms of travel. You have to make that adjustment, and I think it needs to get better from top to bottom. And I think that once the football breaks off, we can start to have the conversation of bringing back the regional rivalries. And I think it's huge, personally. There's got to be a more common sense way to do this shit than, we're having Rutgers go from New Jersey to USC, Southern California, to play a soccer game or to play a volleyball game or to play a golf game or a swimming match. That's just utter stupidity. And you're losing so much money based off of that. Obviously, I mean, if you're in the Big Ten and you're not USC, Washington, Oregon, you're not really losing money because you're going out there maybe once a couple times a year. That's it. Those guys are traveling all the time. And I think that the demise, and my prediction, like I've had before, and I've been right so far, the demise of the Pac-12 is going to be the ultimate killer to USC and UCLA. And in the first year of the Big Ten, they got their ass kicked. Call it what it is. Lincoln Riley's not ready for that shit. I'm happy for Tino Sinceri, a Pitt guy who's now he's now at UCLA. He was at the quarterback coach and assistant co-offensive coordinator at Indiana. He's now the official offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at UCLA. I wish nothing but the best for him. A coach's dream in terms of his family wise, but they gotta get shit figured out. And you're seeing stuff today about TV ratings, all this fucking shit. I mean, it's just bullshit. I mean, it's horrible for the game. It's horrible for the fans. And if you guys have not seen it, subscribe to the podcast, like this video, and go to my Tennessee video. I talk about how Ryan Clark says, well, screw the fans. Last time I checked, the fans pay the bills. The fans pay the salaries. Fox, CBS, NBC, Peacock, ESPN, they're all streaming and having contracts and TV revenue contracts with these conferences because fans want to watch the games. If there's no fans to watch the game, they're not going to televise this shit. And then all of a sudden, you're really out of business. So the fans matter. We as the consumer matter. We drive the revenue in terms of what's happening. And I think that the more teams that they exclude from this, the more viewership it's going to hurt. They want to try to compete with the NFL. They will never compete with the NFL. They never will. And then they're probably never going to learn, to be quite honest, because it's just blatant stupidity. The suits are always the ones that ruin this shit. So, I mean, it is what it is. Gary's got a question coming in here. But great question, Tim. I always appreciate your questions. Totally agree with you with everything you said. Tim, appreciate you. And, obviously, if you're a Pitt fan, make sure you subscribe to Kuz's Corner. He does a great job over there. If you want to know what's going on in West Virginia, make sure you give them a subscribe because he does a good job over there. And I do appreciate Kuz. We always go back and forth a little bit sometimes on X. It's a friendly banter, but he does a great job over there. Hey, JJ, Gary here. When the House settlement finalized, how will that affect the collectives? Will they still be able to get additional money to players on top of the funds that schools will be required to pay? Gary, another great question. You guys are killing it with questions tonight. And then, we're going to be going from the YouTube on from now on, because that way it just brings more people to the channel, which I really appreciate it because it helps out with the algorithm. Gary, this is a great question. One, Alliance 412 is not going anywhere. One of the things that Alan Green has talked about, whether it's on WPXI, KDKA, 93.7 The Fan, or if you are a season ticket holder or an Alliance 412 member, you were invited to the club area before the spring game, like I was. I got to go there and listen. Alan Green talked about how they're going to go to the $20.5 million mark. He said that there, as we've been saying on here for numerous times. I know, what's his name? Byron something. He's always a question. He changed his name to Pitt Tough Guy because he thinks nobody knows who he is, but it's pretty funny. They are going to the $20.5 million mark. They've said they're going to the top. They'll be deciphering, how much goes to which sports. Again, I've been told 75 to 80% of that money will go to football, which makes sense because football pays the bills. But Alliance 412, they want to make sure Alliance 412 is still successful because they want to go over the $20.5 million mark. The NCAA and the clearinghouse will look at every NIL deal that goes to a player. It has to be a true NIL deal. The really good thing about Pitt is that it's in a top 30 market in the country. The top 30 market in the country means you have a lot more people around you, corporate sponsorships, small businesses, large businesses, and how I consider large businesses are 100 employees plus. We've seen people in banks like, for instance, Huntington Bank, PNC. We've seen medical providers, UPMC, Highmark. All those guys have done a great job in terms of being able to provide resources to the University of Pittsburgh and being able to be sponsors or good corporate sponsorships or partners. Those guys are going to continue to be there. And now there's going to be real NIL deals. And I think this is a great opportunity for Pitt because they're going to continue to build that. Alliance 412 has also done a really good job of creating good partnerships to create more revenue, finding more ways to create revenue with businesses to where they're able to use credit card systems, anything like that go on board to provide funds to Alliance 412 to pay players. So they're not going to go away. The House settlement will not change anything in terms of that. It'll just create that salary cap at $20.5 million. It'll probably bump up over years, obviously, because of inflation and whatnot and what that looks like. But Pitt will certainly be paying towards that. They'll be finding ways to create more revenue. They're certainly not going away. And Alliance 412 is going to certainly live on. And again, it's a shout out to guys like John Pelusi. Chris Bickle is a CEO and founder. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had a basketball tournament team. We wouldn't have had all these players that have been here. at the University of Pittsburgh. Chris Bickle, and the CEO of Alliance 412, is a godsend and a savior. And what I told people is that he had an ESPN article that I continually post everywhere that says he's been in those rooms and we're going to compete at the highest level. I'm actually going to see if I can find the article here. Let me see here. If I can find the ESPN article that's here. Chris Bickle, Yahoo. Let me see here. Yeah, here it is. Control find. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm going to share the screen with you guys here because this is a great question by Gary, and we'll get to more questions. Let's see here. Share screen. If it allows me to pop up now, that'd be pretty cool. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so I'm going to size this up a little bit here. But here, this is an article from last year, and it talks about this. And again, I'm going to start right here. We won 3 games and had a structure where everyone was getting paid, and that didn't work for us. So we changed it. And they talked about what got really last year, what got Pitt to that 7-0 start, and what was the change in terms of spending money on players. And Pitt was paying every player for a large duration of time when it came to NIL. Well, Pitt changed that last year. Not every player on Pitt's roster was getting paid. They were paying the guys who are producing to spend more money on those guys and to keep and retain talent. So we won 3 games and had a structure where everyone was getting paid. It didn't work for us. So we changed it, said Chris Bickle, a tech entrepreneur and Pitt booster who not only founded the school's collective Alliance 2, but donated $20 million of his own money to the football program in 2021. Chris Bickle went on to say, "You have to be hungry," Bickle continued. "If you want sponsorships and want to be paid like a professional, you have to earn it. This team is hungry." Go down through here. In this age of escalating the athlete compensation figures, the move is one of the more unique approaches in the industry, a public admission of scaling back, not up. But for Pitt, it's working. Even the most veteran players say so. "I don't want to say that money had an impact, but the attitude about money did," Brandon George said, Pitt's starting 6-year linebacker. "Money doesn't get you a championship," Nargis, he told Yahoo Sports. "If it did, all these teams that have spent all this freaking money would be really good. Florida State, Michigan is spending a lot of money. I want hungry players." You talk about how do we go 3-9? That's how. There are other reasons, of course. We talk about this. Obviously, Pitt was 7-0, 3-0 in the conference. Behind these improvement, transfer quarterback Eli Holstein. Let's see. Holstein makes it to there. Let's see here as we go down here. Yeah, they wanted more money. Narduzzi said Tuesday from his office, "It made us better. We didn't need those guys," meaning the guys that let go because they weren't any good, which I agree. As a university, Pitt is interesting position in the transforming world. This is a great comment here, guys. So I would suggest paying attention right now because this really dives into it here. As a university, Pitt is an interesting position in the transforming world of college athletics. While it resides in a population center within a football state, Pittsburgh has a metro area of about 2.5 million. The school isn't often mentioned among the heavy ACC heavyweights like Clemson, Florida State, Miami. The program's rich history, it is a top 20 all-time in wins. It is forgotten some, lost to the sands of time. For people that don't know, obviously, we have talked about on this channel numerous times the tradition, the players, the NFL Hall of Famers, the college ball Hall of Famers, the wins and the 9 national titles. A regular national championship contender in the 1950s, 70s, and 80s, Pitt has advanced just 2 major bowl games in the last 40 years. And yet Narduzzi, in his 10th year, is on his way to bring the program to heights it hasn't seen in years. The Panthers were on the way through a third 9-win season. Of course, we didn't get there. That sucks. But we went up shit creek there. As college sports inches closer to the athlete revenue sharing era, the school is bracing for its impact by making significant changes. Pitt Chancellor Joan Gable, who arrived last summer, recently hired as new athletic director Alan Green, who brings experience at SEC football brands like Auburn, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Bickle has staffed the collective Alliance 412 as an entity to thrive in a future revenue sharing world, and he expects to continue operating. The collective has an annual budget of around $6 million. I've been told that since last year, this has gone up to about $8 million. When you add in revenue sharing, we'll go to the 20.5, but overall, Alliance 412 continues to raise money. He's hired a talent evaluator, former Buffalo Bills general manager, Doug Whaley, who Pat Narduzzi has talked about as the GM of the football team, which in a way I don't agree with because he works for Alliance 412. He's not a full-time GM, so he's kind of helping Pitt out with the amount of stuff that he does for very little to no money. I mean, he's helping Pitt out quite a bit. Bills general manager Doug Whaley, an experienced fundraiser, John Pelusi, with deep and strategic corporate ties. We talked about John Pelusi. He continues, to be a huge factor in Alliance 412. Jeff Goldberg, another guy who works his ass off at Alliance 412. Those guys have busted their ass with deep and strategic corporate ties. Here's a great comment, though. Trust me, right here. This is what you guys need to know right here. Trust me, Bickle said. What we're doing at Pitt, we are going to compete on the national level in revenue sharing, which has been true. I've been in those meetings. Despite the financial growth and gaps between the SEC and the Big Ten and everywhere else, Narduzzi is confident that Pitt can win its first national title since 1976. It can be done here, he says. Which I agree with this comment right here. There's more parity than there's ever been, he adds. We've been operating Pitt football and basketball as a business, Bickle said. We see ourselves in a unique market. We aren't a major market team. We are wedged between Penn State and Ohio State, but we are in a massive, amazing city. This is a resurgence of Pittsburgh. I've said this before. I keep posting this. This is a resurgence of Pittsburgh. And again, he says here consistently, we are going to compete at the top level of revenue sharing, which he has done since we've started. Also trying this out right now from Colonial Beer, if you haven't done so. Certainly an enjoyable beer. 3.2% alcohol. Here we are on a Monday, guys. I don't drink on Mondays. This is a very cool taste. Obviously not something I probably have very often, but it's enjoyable though. Probably nice for nice little summer activity there. Sherrigan's Escapes, again, Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Make sure you guys could take a look at here. Very cool scene there. But it's you guys can see there, it's proven. We are going to compete at that level. If I can get back on the screen now. We are going to compete at the top level. And Alan Green has specified that. He's certainly hired two executive chief revenue officers. He's brought them on. And again, I've said it before. He has done a phenomenal job up to this point that people don't understand from behind the scenes in terms of corporate sponsorships, bringing in money, revenues, fundraising. He's done a lot of stuff behind closed doors in fundraising, the Panther Club. And the one thing he's talked about with fans is buying season tickets. We've added over 7,000 new season tickets this year, which is a major factor. People have told me before, I've got my season tickets. The price has gone up. There's obviously an NIL fee on there. I'll pay it if we're going to get better players. So I'm good with it. Not a big deal to me. But Pitt is there. They're going to continue to spend money, and they've shown that. So when you look at a guy like Chris Bickle who says that, and I've told other people this as well, there's certainly plenty of different areas that Pitt needs to get better at. And it was funny. A buddy of mine sent me from Rivals who the majority of people on Rivals are absolute nut jobs and talk about some of the weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life. The conversations on there, I've been told recently, have been off the rocker, to say the least. But I'm critical of Pitt in numerous areas when it's needed or when it's supposed to happen. I'm not going to jump on this world scale where just everything that Pitt does is just horrible and it's all bad, because that's bullshit. I live in the real world. There's good things they do and there's bad things they do. They got to be better at. I've called it out, especially too with former players. They need to hire more people who love Pitt and diehard Pitt people, and bring more of the history back in. That's something that needs to get done at a much better rate. I've talked about, Coastal Carolina. I'm a huge fan of Coastal Carolina athletics and Chance Miller, what he's doing down there. It's untapped potential. And I've had numerous athletic departments reach out to me about joining their athletic department, which just haven't found that right opportunity. Don't know if I ever will. But there's just a lot of untapped potential. And Pitt needs to hire people that love Pitt. The days of hiring people that just don't give a shit are just, it's beyond me. They need to do a better job of that. It can't be the same shit every single year. They need to hire people that want to be there and make it great. It's that simple. If you're not hiring people that want to be there, you're up shit creek. Just a fact. Wolf HD, a Pitt offense with Holstein, Reed, Johnson, and Williams would be electric. Easily the most talented weapon since the ACC chip. Maybe even more talented overall, not accounting for Pickett. I don't know. That's a lot. Because you got to remember this too. On that 2021 team, let's go down memory lane here real quick, Wolf. Maybe in terms of talent-wise, because obviously Reed was an All-American, but Kenny Pickett, All-American, Heisman finalist, he was really good. Jordan Addison, Biletnikoff Award winner, best wide receiver in the country. You also had Lucas Krull at the tight end position. He was a freaking nature. You had Gavin Bartholomew at the tight end position. I thought Pitt's offensive line that year certainly kept Kenny Pickett upright. They did a great job of protecting the passer, something we didn't do last year. That was really good. They also had a running back like Izzy Abanikanda. I mean, the talent on that roster was just sick. I don't know. This will probably be the most talented since then, but certainly not to that level. I think that they have these guys. Holstein's got to prove himself. Reed's got to prove himself. Johnson certainly has to prove himself, and certainly Hykeem Williams. A lot of potential there, but like they say, potential. Everybody has potential, but not everyone lives up to it. So these guys got to certainly live up to it. I won't put it up there yet. They have the potential to get to that point, but they're nowhere right now. They're nowhere near that 2021 team. I mean, heck, even the wide receivers, they had Taysier Mack. Taysier Mack was a freaking nature. I thought he was really undervalued. He was really good. They had the one short kid from Hawaii that brought in as a transfer. He was really good. Who else did they have on that team? God, they had so many great players in that team. That's a great comment, Wolf. Right going down memory lane there. Even like the defensive side of the football, you had Kalijah Cansey, first round draft pick. I mean, you had guys up front that were just total dogs. Rodney Hammond at the running back position there too. God, there was so much talent on that football team. MJ Devonshire, Eric Hallett, Brandon George at linebacker. You had Servassier Dennis at linebacker. I mean, you had a bunch of guys that were there. It was wild. That team was something else, brother. That was fun to watch. Because, be honest, when you went into the 2021 season, we didn't expect it to go to those heights. But each one of those games, I mean, as someone like myself, I can say it out loud. I predicted like Pitt to score 35, 40, 45 points every single game. I remember the Georgia Tech game. We were like, oh, this could potentially be a Patrician. Speedy Tortoise. Great one right there. Patrician. He was really good too. And then obviously I think he's now in the XFL for where he's at. But you watch that offense, you were predicting them to score 35, 40 points a game with Mark Whipple and all that whole crew. Heck, remember the Georgia Tech game? I mean, they scored like 40 points in the first half. I mean, they were just scoring at will. I mean, it was ridiculous. Now they had some really bad losses that were there during that year. The Western Michigan loss, they had to change the defense. It certainly was the offense fault. They scored over 40 points. They made the adjustments. They certainly did it though. Wolf forgot about they had a Canada team because he had a triple split time in the backfield. Yeah. I remember when a lot of people were pissed and thought the world was falling when Hayes and Okunlola left. I think we were okay without them. Not everything happens as the end of the world. Thank God. And I said this before, and I heard from numerous fans, and honestly, you get the rivals, the nut jobs, the dumbasses on there, the guys sitting in their basement and certainly jump on and talk about shit. They have no idea what they're talking about. Thank you, Pitman Zach. Marquis Stovall. Yes, from Hawaii. Yes, really good pickup. You got the dummies on there. You've done 247. They're all nut jobs. The amount of people that tell me that the stuff that's said on there. I got a lot of flack for saying, well, he's being too. We've got major losses. We're in trouble. I mean, clearly we didn't. I remember we talked about. I tweeted out yesterday. We lost multiple linebackers. Bengali Kamara. What happened? Rasheem Biles came into the system. Kyle Lewis came into the system. Solomon DeShields. Solomon DeShields went to Texas A&M, was a backup. Now he's gonna be an undrafted free agent. He's not going to get drafted. And he put out a tweet the other day, which I retweeted it, and he said, "Watch my Pitt tape." Yeah, he was really good at Pitt. Then what happened? Took a little bit more money, sat on the bench. Now he's going to go undrafted. Great job. Pittman Zach, Brandon Hill on that defense too. Yeah, he was there too. Just overall, guys, I mean, people freak out over anybody that leaves. Like, the transfer portal has players. And if there's one thing that I think Pitt does a really good job of on defense especially, maybe not so much offense. I think the offensive line recruiting for Pitt under Narduzzi has been just total dog shit. But the defense, they know what they're doing. They know what they're recruiting. I mean, people talk about the defense last year. Like, the defense gave up more yards last year because they're on the field more. I mean, when your offense is scoring at like 30 seconds, every 30 seconds, or every minute and a half, it's different than in previous years where you're on the field for 3-4 minutes. I mean, it's going to change. I mean, you're going to give up more points. You're going to give up more yards. I mean, you can't be perfect 3 and outs every single time. I mean, it's kind of common sense. But yeah, people lost their minds. And then look, we found other players. We found other guys that stepped up. I think Okunlola would have been a starter here still, but he absolutely shit the bed. He got benched at Colorado. He's still there. Dayon Hayes gets hurt. He hits the portal because he wanted more money. They told him to kick rocks. He's now at Texas A&M. They've said he's had a good camp so far down there. We'll see what he does this year, but he's on his last leg. He has to perform this year, or he's going to be working 9 to 5. I mean, these guys, hey, by all means, good luck to them. But as we've seen from other places, it's not like it's the end of the world, and a lot of these guys don't perform at other places. It is what it is. But we'll see. Dayon Hayes got 1 more year left, and he's having a great camp from what I was told down at Texas A&M. We'll see what he does. Pittman Zach 94, yeah, Marquis Stovall, and then Brandon Hill was on that team as well. Yes. But certainly a number of different ways to go on this. That's for a fact. Don't see any more super chats. We're coming up on the hour mark, guys. Look at DeShields telling people, look at his Pitt tape. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I saw that tweet. I retweeted it, and I kind of laughed and giggled, to be honest with you, because he didn't play. So now you're going to be an undrafted guy and probably not make it, and then you're out. Well, you could have been a drafted guy. Grass isn't always greener. Agree 100%. Sucked when Okunlola left, but excited to see Jaden Moore. Yeah, even if Okunlola was here, Jaden Moore would probably still be a starter. That's how good he can, for what he's done. Excited to see what he can bring. I agree. It'll be interesting overall. To finish this up, though, when it comes to positions they're looking at, tight end, corner, running back, offensive line, defensive line. What did I say? Tight end, cornerback, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive end, and running back. I think they're looking for a bigger back. There are some guys they should have taken in the first round of the portal that they just didn't go after. I like the Ty Lockwood kid from Alabama. He went to Boston College. He's first on the depth chart up there. And we certainly missed and let that one go when he wanted to come here. He wanted to come here. We told him we were good. So much for that. As we talk about the misses on offense in terms of recruiting, they need I think they're going to go for a bigger back or a guy that can compete for the starting spot, because Desmond Reed can't carry the ball, 30 times a game at his size. His body can't take it. We saw injuries last year. We need another guy that's back there. So they'll look at the running back position, Hykeem Williams at the wide receiver position. If they don't get him by some chance, I don't think they add another wide receiver. They'll probably go in the rest of the year with what they have, which I would be good with, but you got to take Hykeem Williams if he's there. Tight end position, again, Indiana's tight end, Sam West coming in. Again, not a big barn burner of a guy. He's kind of like pretty much just a body. Coach him up, see what he can do. That's kind of what you're looking at. That way you have 4 tight ends instead of 3. Cornerback, I would love that ad. Former 4-star Zion Ferguson out of North Carolina. I would love that ad. I would love the Hykeem Williams ad. So a former 5-star and a former 4-star. That'd be a great way to start the portal season. And then offensive line, if there's a guy who can compete for the offensive line and come in and start right away, then they'll look at that guy. I think J.B. Nelson's out there right now from Penn State. He can play tackle or guard. I think he's that good of an offensive lineman. I would certainly have a conversation with him. I know they've reached out. I would imagine at the offensive line position, he's going to be demanding a lot of money. We'll see. I think he committed somewhere, Adam, and I don't even think they reached out to him. Defensive end also too. I think if there's a guy that can compete for defensive end, they're going to take him. And I think they want more depth there. They could certainly use it. Any update on Derek Davis' injury situation? What is your expectations from him this season? The Derek Davis injury, I think that's why they're adding a running back, Gary. I think he's out for this foreseeable future. I don't even think he's going to be back for a fall camp. The injury he went through, he had a tough injury, a knee injury from what it looked like from when it happened. Pat Narduzzi talked about how he's a guy that he probably will not see. Tamir Robinson, Speedy Tortoise, to USC. Yeah, I was going to say he committed somewhere. But Derek Davis looks to be out for the foreseeable future. I don't expect him to have a big year. I think I wouldn't be shocked if they try to medical redshirt him for another year, or he potentially, if he doesn't medical redshirt, or if he does medical redshirt, he goes somewhere else to play. I don't know. I think his best bet is at Pitt. Just get healthy and come back middle of the year and see if he can get a medical redshirt. That's just kind of how I look at it. But he's out for the foreseeable future, which is why I think Pitt's going to go out there and get another running back. Desmond Reed, Jules Goff, and Shakarian Boozy-Turner are really the top three right now. I think you'd like to get one more guy in there for a fourth running back to create some depth. Because, again, we talk about depth. That was the problem last year. They didn't have depth up front. They didn't have depth at running back. They didn't have depth at wide receiver. The quarterback's getting hurt. Guys got to stay healthy this year if they want to be successful. If they want 9+ wins, you got to stay healthy. That's number one. Number two, you got to have depth. Number three, you got to produce. Those three things got to happen. And that's the same thing as every year. That's what their downfall is. And also, good coaching. Pat Narduzzi needs to quit making the same dumb mistakes over and over and over again. And I want to see Cade Bell continue to evolve as the offensive play caller that he can be. That's another thing, too. All right, guys. I don't see any more super chats here. Coming up on the hour mark. Appreciate it, guys. I don't see any more. We should be good now. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. The show is what it is because of you guys, and I cannot thank you enough. If you haven't done so, subscribe down below, like this video, share this video on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere else with your friends. Let's get more people in the conversation. Let people know, after this video is posted, what do you think? What are other positions that you want to see Pitt get to? When this video is posted, go to the comment section. What do you guys think the Pitt should look for? What other questions do you guys have? We'll talk in the comment section once this video ends. So, guys, appreciate you guys as always. And as always and forever, hail to Pitt and hail to the ACC. I'll see you guys next time.